Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
We need to get community. We need this thing to be bigger than just our little circle of players and coaches.
Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Oregon!
With 2 seconds on the clock, he hits it!
That's the bigger picture in this thing, allowing the community to celebrate the hard work, blue-collar mentality this group brings to the table.
And the Ducks have won it! The Ducks have won!
We get to struggle together, and we get to have joy together.
Dante will dribble it out! The Ducks are Pac-12 tournament champions!
I am so proud right now to be the head coach at Oregon.
Oregon's a Fiesta Bowl champion in a 12-win season.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
Two guests coming up on the show today, and it's Oregon baseball game day at PK Park. It is a non-conference slate for the Ducks. Oregon taking on a Seattle team that, look, they're almost 10 games under 500. This is a series that Oregon baseball should win. The non-conference 4-game series. I talked with Mark Wazakowski in his office earlier today, and he was like, hey, we need to play 4 games. Ducks trying to solidify some things in their pitching staff. He likes that they're playing 4 games. Even though it's a shorter preparation week, it changes some things for the Ducks. We'll talk about all that on our pregame show tonight. A 4:45 scheduled pregame show because we've got a 5 o'clock first pitch at PK Park. Looking forward to it. This will be my, 5th baseball game this year. The way the schedule worked out, anytime basketball was at home, baseball was on the road, and anytime basketball was on the road, baseball was at home. So I'd be able to get back for the Sunday game and sit in the booth with Ryan Milano. So selfishly, I'm just excited for baseball tonight because I'll be at PK Park sitting with Ryan, calling the game. I'm looking forward to it. The Ducks, it's amazing to be at a place like Oregon where you're sitting with a pretty doggone good record in Pac-12 play. You're sitting with a really good record overall. And Mark Wazakowski, I'm in his office, and he's like, yeah, I think that there's still some things that we can get better at. We're not playing bad, but we're not playing good either. And, I'm going, well, that's nice to have a winning record. You're sitting at 15-7 and 6-3 in Pac-12 play, and you're like, things can be better. All right, then. So it's a chance for the Ducks to get better this weekend. And to be honest, I feel like this is kind of akin to professional baseball, where baseball is really a unique sport in that a lot of your player development and improvement is happening on a game day, whether it be pregame or postgame, depending on the first pitch time. Think about the professional ranks. You don't get a lot of practice days once the season is going. Now, college baseball is a little different. You're going to play 3, maybe 4 games in a week with 1 off day. You still have a couple practice days. But that's not the case this week for the Ducks. It's spring break. You're still playing, though, right? So you don't have the academic commitments like you normally would, so maybe some individual work for the guys, but baseball is such a unique sport in that way that you sort of have those development days on game days. And I feel like that's a little bit, at least, of how the Ducks have approached this week. I think it's an interesting examination of the sport. In any case, Oregon softball also in action last night. The Duck Invitational at Eugene Country Club came to a close. And I said our 2 guests, Rob Moseley, the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com, is going to join us here in just a little while. Also, Jason Dillard will sit down with us, the Oregon Beach Volleyball head coach. Ducks are traveling to Boise, Idaho this weekend. We'll have some updates from that for you. And, I'll tell you, it was actually, it took us a while to line up schedules so that Jason could come in and chat with us, and I was stoked to be able to have him. We actually talked with him because they're going to be at practice. We talked to them a little while ago. We'll have that for you on the show coming up here today as well. Your comments, questions, and then I said yesterday that Ryan covered a lot of basketball on Monday, which, Monday right after the season came to a close for men's basketball, that's the day to do it. But I do have some thoughts on basketball, and I'm kind of curious everyone's perspective now. It's the eve of the Sweet 16, and dang, Ducks had a good shot at it Ducks had a good shot. We'll break that down. We'll break that down, too. Softball last night, though, kind of a wild game. The Ducks came from, it's odd to say from behind, but just a very back and forth and wild contest. Number 21 Oregon scored 8 runs, though, in the top of the 7th to pull away from Cal State Fullerton 12-4. Before that, a real roller coaster ride, though, for the Ducks. We'll talk about that coming up. And the Duck Invitational, let's begin there, because it's not very often that you get a home event for Oregon golf. The Ducks got that. Grayson Leach shot 1 under 70. Greg Solhag carded an even par 71 on Tuesday, the final round of the Oregon Duck Invitational. Each finished tied for 8th individually, helped the host UO men's golf squad finish 2nd as a team at Eugene Country Club. Casey Martin's squad ranked number 24 in the country. Entered the day tied for first, tight race with number 21 Illinois. Illinois went 6 under as a team on Tuesday to finish the 2-day, 3-round event at 2 under 850. Oregon finished at 5 over 857 after shooting 1 over as a group in the final round. Casey Martin told Rob Moseley that we got it all in, first of all. With the weather a little dicey around here, we got it in. A great team won. Illinois always really strong. Fun to battle with them. We've got to just keep getting better. Obviously did well, but there's a next level that we have shown that we can do, and we are not doing it right now. So another example, you see my theme for the show today? Another example of you're around a place like Oregon, and you're a top 25 golf team. You finish 2nd in your event, and it's like, could have been better. That's the Casey Martin angle, at least. Leach and Solhag each finished 1 over individually, 7 strokes back of medalist Jackson Buchanan of Illinois. Nate Stember was 2 over to tie for 13th. Owen Averett finished tied for 24th at 5 over, and Aiden Kraft was 6 over to tie for 31st. Among Oregon's team members who competed as individuals in the tournament, Thomas Jenkins Jr. used a birdie eagle sequence on Tuesday at number 5 and number 6 on the way to a round of 2 over. And I know you hear like 2 over. Trust me, the weather and how difficult Eugene Country Club is, that's a pretty good performance. I think Casey Martin was overall happy, but a chance for improvement for the Ducks. And it's actually a quick turnaround. Ducks will be back in action beginning tomorrow, the first of 3 rounds at the Goodwin in San Francisco. That's a tournament that Casey Martin always goes to in San Francisco. And you get some of the best teams from the Bay Area that play in that tournament. I love the men's golf. The way that the schedule deploys sometimes, where it's such a quick turnaround. Talking about baseball, how you're developing on a game day. Well, sometimes for men's golf over spring break, you have a lot of competition days. You can travel because golf takes up your entire day academically, right? When they're playing in an event, it's not like it's class in the morning and then you're around in the afternoon. That's not usually how it works. And so a lot of events, a chance to get better for Casey Martin's team here coming up. So baseball tonight, a 5 o'clock first pitch. It is game day. Seattle is in town. The weather looks like it's going to be a thing, both tonight and tomorrow, but then some great promotions at PK Park for this series. Cars Day coming up on Friday. Kids get in free, ages 12 and under, for the 5 o'clock first pitch on Friday at PK Park, and then celebrate Easter weekend at PK Park. Saturday at noon, a post-game Easter egg hunt. I still hope that we've got speckled eggs. No word yet, no confirmation, but I hope that we've got speckled eggs. Oregon and Seattle. For the Ducks, the pitching that Mark Wasikowski was talking about, important in a 4-game series, and especially when everybody gets moved up an extra day because of the Easter holiday. Then you also have a front end of a 4-game series with that first pitch coming tonight on a Wednesday. Pitching staff will get tested, and that's what Mark Wasikowski wants to see. Elsewhere today, we'll dive into the weekend ahead. It is spring break. The Sweet 16's tomorrow. I'm having a hard time getting it out of my head. We'll break some of that down. But when we come back, Rob Moseley, the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com, will be with us. We're going to break down softball from last night as the Ducks moving on to Westwood after a day off, at least playing today. UCLA with a big series on the horizon for Oregon softball. Spring sports are here. A lot to break down. We're coming back to the Country Financial Studio in a moment on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Imagine all the fun you can have this spring break in a new Toyota. Woo-hoo! I'm having fun and I'm not even there.
Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends April 1st.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Imagine all the fun you can have this spring break in a new Toyota. Woo-hoo! I'm having fun and I'm not even there.
Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends April 1st.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hey, son. How are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you is.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Rob Moseley's here, folks.
I feel like it's been a while.
Hey, welcome back, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
It's been a while for me sitting here with you, I think. You know, Pac-12 tournament, a trip to Pittsburgh.
Go Pens.
Yeah, let's begin there. How
they won last night.
Did they?
It's a rare thing, so
you take.
I'm celebrating it.
Yeah, you take that moment. Well, it has been a while. So what's happened? Anything?
Holy cow, so much.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Where do we start? Where do you want to start today?
Where do you want to start today? I mean, I don't remember last time we talked. Have I been to Vegas twice and Pittsburgh once?
Yes.
And a pretty big wedding.
Yes, actually. That's also true.
Yeah.
We haven't talked in like a month.
Yeah.
So, well, we just haven't talked on the air.
Right.
In like a month. Let's start with the obvious question. How happy were you when you saw Oregon show up as an 11 seed and then the line below it said Pittsburgh, PA?
I look back and I don't think I appreciated. Like I knew, like instantly I think I was like, well, the Penguins aren't going to be in town because the games are being played.
Of course you knew that
at their
instantly.
arena.
Yeah, that's right.
Not that I knew the schedule, but just sort of put that together. Like that's just how it works,
right,
you know?
Logic.
But I didn't really wrap my head around what it was going to be like being in that arena 4 straight days or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And every day was a dream. It was wild. I mean, just to walk through halls and there's all this signage for
right.
I mean, right outside our locker room on the way to the floor was like the x-ray room for like if somebody gets hurt. And, you know, fortunately I don't think they needed to use it. But like, you know what, that had like the Penguin logo on it, you know, for like the team doctors and all that. Like little things like that like just I was constantly struck by. I mean, every day sitting in the press room and realizing that was the press room for Penguin games was just mind-blowing. Yeah, it was so cool. And
such an intersection of your life.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
I appreciate you indulging me with the question. I appreciate anyone who's listening right now indulging this because I'm a massive Penguins fan, and that might not be what you want to hear about. But, yeah, on a personal level, it was just mind-blowing. And I've caught some grief since I got back for, man, there's a lot of Penguins on your Instagram story and things like that. But, like, I just wasn't going to take it for granted.
No, 100%.
It was I even was able to talk my way into the locker room for a brief moment, seize the Stanley Cups, and it was, something I'll never forget.
So I told Rob this off the air. As I was walking down the hallway, like there's a lot of media pomp and circumstance that goes on around the NCAA tournament, right? Like it's kind of a chance for the guys, the team to enjoy, you know, being there. And there's just a lot of moving parts. Well, one of those moving parts is there was a corridor that did not actually lead out to the floor or the ice. It was actually closed off.
It does.
But it was closed off
in this case.
Yeah,
right.
It was closed off by the bleachers that were in place for the basketball setup. And I walk by, and I see the biggest smile on Rob Moseley's face I have ever seen on your face.
It's got this little corridor has got all 5 team photos from the 5 Stanley Cup teams, and then it's got like close-up shots of actually their names engraved on the cup.
That's cool.
Below the team shots so you can kind of to reflect who's in those photos. And that's the hallway the Penguins walk down to get from their locker room to the ice. So it's like I've seen it a million times, and like.
But you haven't seen it.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just, and I took some pictures, but probably the moment you caught too. I wanted to also take a couple moments when I wasn't staring at my phone, staring at something else, and just like,
yep,
this might not ever happen again. This is awesome.
Yep,
soak this up.
And you did.
Yes, 100%.
As you should.
Absolutely.
Now, meanwhile, it was a heck of a trip. So we talk about like the 3 wins in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Right. The win in the first round against South Carolina, and as much as I hate to say this, a real classic of a game against Creighton.
Yep.
I mean, Greg McDermott, I love that the head coach for Creighton said this. Like, first thing he says post-game, just, well, that was an epic game.
Right.
It was.
Right.
Unfortunately, the Ducks on the losing side.
This is one of those sort of like two-sided things, kind of yin and yang, whatever, where, if you told Oregon fandom, broadly speaking,
right,
as the team was headed to Vegas a couple weeks ago, you're going to make the NCAA tournament, win a game, and then get your hearts broken in the second round.
Yeah.
I think every single one of us would have been like, sign me up for that.
Hey, I'll take that a step further. If you told me that at any point after the opener against Georgia when N'Faly Dante was hurt and then everybody else was getting hurt, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
The coaches, I think, would have too.
But then when you go through it, in the moment of that Creighton game, and you play the what if games, what if this had been a little different? This had, one thing here, one thing there that could have tilted that one. It stinks, and no amount of but what a great run can soothe you in those moments.
I know.
I think if you're Dana Altman, you're still not soothed. But I think I've certainly gotten past that, and am able to appreciate now kind of the run they went on, and the team's got to move on. I mean, just the nature of college basketball now with the portal and everything else, you got to figure out, who's staying, what holes you need to fill, all that. And there's not a lot of time to nurse old wounds.
Yeah. Well, and to sum that up, like I'm glad that you and I are having this conversation, even for me, like a few days removed. So Ryan hosts the show on Mondays, right? And so Ryan wasn't the one calling the game, so Ryan could do the much more emotion removed review of the season, right? Well, it's taken me a couple days to get to this point to be like, okay. I mean, a heck of a season. So, like, to sum this up, there are still only 4 programs in the country that have won 20 or more games each of the last 14 years.
14. Yeah.
That's how long Coach Altman's been the head coach at Oregon. I mean, the streak of 20-win seasons is remarkable. And then he and Lute Olson are the only 2 that have won 4 PAC conference tournaments.
Right.
Like, I know Coach is going to say, well, it's not about me, but also, like, damn.
Yeah. No, this is one of those moments when you step back and say, yeah, things weren't perfect.
Yeah.
Did you hit your absolute ceiling? No.
Right.
And yet there's still so much to appreciate. And, that's what sports does to us. You have sometimes you have to take the good with the bad. And, kind of as I wrote in the Flock Talk newsletter Monday, you get the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat in sports. And we got it all in the same weekend.
The same weekend.
Yeah. Because, again, to win that game and the way Jermaine Couisnard played against South Carolina and how fun that was, again, based on where things were a couple weeks ago, nobody could have expected that. And that makes it even better. It made it even more fun. But then just to get kind of your heart stomped on a couple days later, that's life, and you take it all in.
Well, I want to ask you about the future of the program in a second, but a lot of people have asked me, and I'm sure you the same, over the last week or so, like, where does the dynamic duo of Jermaine Couisnard and N'Faly Dante now live within, like, the memories of Duck basketball? Because, I mean, you score 72 points in 2 NCAA tournament games. It's remarkable. What N'Faly Dante did down the stretch is really remarkable. Just, I don't know, your perspective on that. I think that you've probably been asked this like I have.
Yeah, I think, as time passes on, N'Faly's going to be in the conversation with great big men here. I think, unfortunately, because of his injuries. the totality of his career. You know, the farther away a guy gets, you start to rely more just on sort of raw data than kind of anecdotal memories and things like that. I mean, purely for like his personality and his love of Oregon and his love of the game and all that, he was so special that way. Yeah. And, you know, it's going to be tough to see him go when that time comes. But, yeah, I think he'll be in the conversation there. You know, Jermaine, it's probably the same thing. You know, he's here a couple years, and both of them he missed time with injuries. But I think that moment, you know, that week will be frozen in time forever and will be remembered forever. To have two guys playing at that level together has been pretty rare. You know, I mean, when Tyler Dorsey went nuts that one year, you know, it was like there was a few other, you know, there was a bunch of other parts around him that contributed. You know, it wasn't like it was just him or just him and someone else. He was definitely a standout, but, you know, part of a unit, whereas this really, with all due respect to all those guys, because, you know, Bam played such a key role defensively and on the boards and, you know, helping handle the ball, you know, moments here and there, and KJ and everybody else. And Jackson Shelstad obviously played a huge role. And, you know, what if he'd been able to be on the floor at the end of the game?
Twist the knife.
But, Rob. To have those two guys kind of carry the team that way was really special, really impressive, and I think, you know, that week at least will be remembered in Oregon lore.
Yeah, I mean, the individual performances sometimes can like transcend a loss.
For sure.
I mean, you think about that. Now,
for sure.
Jermaine Couisnard, though, would be the first to say he would rather score 0 points and win the game, and that's just the kind of guy he is.
No doubt. Yeah, I think he's a guy who, I think by the nature of his injury situation the last couple of years, and then his personality, he's not as effusive and outgoing as N'Faly is.
Right.
I think for all of us, it was harder to communicate to sort of the fandom in general, kind of the passion he played with, the heart he played with, you know, the passion he had for the program, his teammates, the kind of leader he was. I think, you know, Dana Altman really drove that home the last couple weeks, but, you know, it probably could have happened earlier. If some things had been different. Again, you know, his personality just kind of is what it is. You know, he's not a guy who seeks out attention and the spotlight and, you know, wants to, you know, be the most effusive guy in interviews and all that. So, but I hope and think people the last couple weeks really got a much better sense of what he meant to this group.
Yeah.
And not just as a scorer.
Yeah,
you know, as a leader and all the rest.
And those are a couple seniors, right? So now the everybody's already thinking, okay, so a Sweet 16 run next year. I mean, well, the way to do that, to your point, is building the roster. That's what the coaches are up to now.
Right. Yeah, and it's, you know, it's so much harder for guys sitting in our seats now to like look ahead a year because
what's it going to look like?
Yeah, who knows? So that's, you know, that's when you fall back on a coaching staff and all that, and kind of the reputation of this program and the success it's had, and say, okay. They have a track record of, you know, being able to fill some holes. You know, I think a month ago, if you'd asked, again, I asked a lot of Oregon fans, will losing N'Faly Dante and Jermaine Couisnard be devastating losses for next season? I bet you not many people would have said that, you know, kind of given kind of where the team was at, kind of what their production looked like. Now, absolutely. After the last couple weeks, you're like, oh,
right,
that's a problem.
Yeah.
There, you know, again, there's a much better sense because of their production the last couple of weeks of what those guys meant to this program the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And for N'Faly even longer than that. So we all have a better appreciation for how hard those holes are to fill. You know, a month ago, I think, you know, the perception would have been those would have been a little easier when now we know the truth.
Right. Well, and you know, there's certainly decisions that individuals are going to have to make now in the coming weeks, to your point about we don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, there could come and go, whatever's going to happen, right? But I can tell you I'm just looking forward to being back at Matthew Knight Arena in a new era of Oregon basketball. I mean, the teams that are coming in, there's going to be some fun matchups at Matthew Knight Arena.
No, it's interesting to think about kind of style of play and all that, and you know how it can be different league to league, and how the makeup of your team maybe can be different. Even, you know, the perception of players you already have can change based on how they fit, matching up with a different style of play in a different league. Right. So that's fascinating to think about. You know, I don't think you and I can even scratch the surface of all the details to that the coaches are engrossed in right now. But But I think it is fair to say that that's a factor.
100%. Now, you were out at golf yesterday.
I was.
Duck Invitational, full recap. We talked about it in segment 1. Full review, the story from Rob on GoDucks.com. I say this, like, it's special when you get a home event for the golf programs out at Eugene Country Club or wherever it may be. That'd be fun going back out there.
That place is awesome. It's kind of like riding a bike. Like, I walk in and I'm like, what is the course layout? What's the
Where
front
do I
and
go?
what's the back? And then, like, a half hour later, it's like, oh, yeah. You know, it's like 10 years I've been coming out here walking this course. And, you know, as a photographer, you know, like you're 3 or 4 places where you can catch, like, 2 tee boxes plus 1 hole or, you know, a great water feature with a great background, you know, some
Look
of the
at you
trees
thinking
blooming.
like a photographer.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at you.
Big E. The first thing he told me is always think about your background. So it's like that's like the one rule of thumb I always keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the guys kind of scuffled, which is weird to say because they all shot right around par.
Right.
But nobody was able to go low. The Illinois guys, you know, had a couple guys that were able to go low, including the medalist. And, you know, so I think you think long-term for the program. Obviously, you want to win your home event. Frustrating not to win. I think Casey Martin feels like things just aren't necessarily clicking for almost any of the guys right now. I think for O and Averett, you know, you're kind of your number one player coming back. You know, he got things going a little towards the end of his round. That's a guy who needs to build some confidence, you know, because that's, you know, you don't need to be carried by one player in golf, and you can't be carried by one player in golf, but it sure helps to have a kind of a lead dog at the front of the pack. And so, you know, if he can get things going, and there's still some time, you know, so to finish second in a pretty strong field and to feel like you didn't come close to playing your best golf in any of the 3 rounds over the 2 days, you know, hopefully means the ceiling's still pretty high for this group. And as they head down to the Bay Area this weekend and, you know, move on to future tournaments. You know, that's always the wild part about this tournament is like teams go like right from the course to the airport to go to the next, including Oregon, you know, who lives here. So, yeah, you know, that's the nature of golf too. That's, you know, unlike some other sports where you need, you know, days off and this and that, you know, those guys could just play all the time.
Well, so in the show open today, I was glad I read what Casey Martin told you in your story, and like the theme of my conversation with Mark Wazakowski this morning for our pregame show and Casey Martin, it was like the same.
Yeah.
Like Mark Wazakowski, the Ducks are sitting there at 6-3 in conference, and he's like, we're nowhere close to where we should be. I mean, like that's in a lot of ways that's just Oregon. Right? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, it reminds you of Dan Lanning in the fall, you know, and just the level that team was playing at. And, you know, he still found, you know, places to critique and, you know, wasn't going to get ahead of himself. That's just, that's
coaches.
Yeah, I think, you know, you're around Coach Altman all the time. Yeah. I mean, as much as, you know, we can kind of caricature how he can be kind of an old grump sometimes. It's like, that's what you got to be. Right. I mean, you have to always be on alert for, like, what could go wrong, what your weaknesses are, because you know an opponent's watching film looking to exploit that, all that.
You're trying to find the crack in the dam before somebody else
Totally.
does.
You got to be the kind of the cynic that way. Yeah. And, you know, I think, you know, again, for people who sit in seats like ours, we're the opposite.
That's
know?
right.
We're not cynics, you know.
Go Ducks!
Right. So, yeah, it's an interesting contrast there of personalities.
No, 100%.
It drives. I'm sure it drives them nuts when we're like, "Hey, all this stuff that's going right," and they're like, "No, all this stuff that's going wrong."
Right. Yeah. Well, case in point, you'll hear it on the pregame interview coming up tonight. You know, well, Waz, hey, you're coming off a series win. I know you want to win all of them, but a series win is nice. Well, yeah. I mean, you know, you know where this is going.
I mean, we were traveling that day, but I mean when you lose the last game, you lose the way they did.
It sours it.
Totally.
For sure. But sitting 6-3 in conference, chance to get better here coming up. Yeah, that's fun. Well, we covered a lot, and you're going to be back next week, huh?
Will I?
I hope so.
I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Baseball?
Yes, I will be at baseball
hey!
tomorrow. Tonight and tomorrow. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What's next week? I don't think there's anything.
Next week is week 1 of spring term.
Oh, I can finally go out to football.
That's true. Yeah. Football is back in action, getting ready for the spring game.
And then a week from this Sunday, Toronto.
Hey, okay, all right. Didn't know that, but
Penguins.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Blue Jays the next day.
Not a bad trip.
And that way I'll only need Miami for Major League ballparks.
No kidding.
Yep.
You're down to just Miami.
Plus, Toronto's going to be a great place for the Eclipse. That Monday, the 8th, I think, is the Penguin game, and that's the Eclipse day, and Toronto's like right in the honey hole.
You see this? Like this guy Just plans ahead. Hey, get to Miami this summer.
Speaking of, too, do you have another 30 seconds?
Yeah.
They just announced the Olympic basketball tables.
Oh.
And so I had to buy a bunch of tickets like literally last January, like 15 months ago or something,
right.
to like secure them. But it turns out we have tickets to see a game Satu and Niara in Germany will play in, that Maite and Spain will play in. We have one random one. It's like Nigeria, Australia.
And hopefully Team USA.
I don't think we'll have anyone in Australia. We had to buy that. But so we went in then and bought one women's game and one men's game for Team USA.
Cool.
When we're there too. So should be able to see a bunch of Ducks.
Big trip.
Yes.
Big trip. You going to write about it?
I don't want to.
Okay. Will you bring back pictures for us?
Heck yeah.
Great. Rob Moseley.
People thought they were sick of the Penguins pictures this past week. Woo!
Look.
Ain't seen nothing yet.
Look, we're
it's
ready.
Be croissants and
we're ready.
Coco Van. I don't even know what that is.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
The Eiffel Tower for sure. Yeah, we have some beach volleyball tickets, and there's a beach volleyball court right at the base of the Eiffel Tower. Yep.
So, look, see, so many things to look forward to. Come on back every time Rob's on the show.
That's what life's about. Like, some people aren't planners. Like, and I'm not a big, like, long-term planner. But, like,
you can plan.
You buy concert tickets. You buy game tickets. There's something there that no matter what's going on, you got something to look forward to.
This guy. Well, you know what we have to look forward to? Jason Dillard's on the show next.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And he can talk about a dub.
He can talk about a dub. He also, believe me, had sandals on. Yeah.
Doesn't
True story.
Like, always have sandals on?
Really believing in the beach volleyball motto.
Did they get rained on?
sandals.
What was that? What was the weather like last week?
It never rains at Amazon Park.
It never does.
It never rains. When we come back, Jason Dillard joining us, talking beach volleyball with the head coach on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. All the way over from Amazon Park, Jason Dillard is here, Oregon Beach Volleyball head coach. What's up, Coach?
Not much. How are you?
I just want to compliment you on your choice today. It is raining in Eugene, Oregon today,
Yes,
and
it is.
he's got the sandals on.
Yeah, the dogs are still out.
Yeah, that's the right choice for the beach volleyball coach. Am I right? I mean, that's that's next level preparation on your part.
I mean, the tan. Look, like I've seen some sun. These dogs
Yeah!
are pretty tan.
All right.
I gotta say,
well done.
Yeah. No, we've been taking advantage every sunny day, getting them out there. It's like 55 today, so sandal appropriate.
Yeah. I just really respect the level of commitment because every time you've come in here, you've had them. I mean, this is next level preparation on the beach volleyball front. So what's been up? Take us through the season so far. How are things?
Pretty good. We had a great fall. We got 7 new athletes, 3 freshmen and 4 transfers, and they've been doing a good job. We've been training really hard. The fall was excellent. We went to Alki and we've had matches against Arizona, Washington, Portland. We had some really nice experiences there. Got some a great look at what the season would look like, especially against Arizona and Washington, and then headed over to Boise, and same thing. Always a good level of competition for us, and they have a great facility. They do a great job, and it's an easy trip for us. And had another match up at Corbin in the fall, and performed well there, and then spent the rest of the fall training and through November. Yep. And a long break, having most of December off, and then back in January and got hit with a week-long ice storm. Yep. So that put a little delay on the beginning of the year, just being able to get out there and really do anything. But no, the athletes have been working really hard. We have a very tough schedule, and I know we'll kind of talk about that. But I feel like preparation, all the things that we've asked them to do as far as, being involved in SAC and taking seriously their role as student athletes and doing a good job in the classroom. I could not be happier with our grades that just came out. Can't share those, but I'm very, very
in general,
very happy. Yeah, in general, huge stuff. I mean, our team GPA was great in the fall. It was good, but I challenged them to do a little bit more, and they absolutely did that.
One thing before we even get into the schedule, which has been difficult, and I have a couple schedule insights for folks. So, from my experience, there's a lot of things that go on around the athletic department for the student athlete, right? And so one of those things is actually there are internship programs that student athletes participate in all across campus and here in athletics. And I got to tell you, one of the largest turnouts for any group, it's always beach volleyball. Yeah, so you must foster that with your athletes.
I mean, I try. They take it upon themselves as part of our culture, right? That we want to be involved in the campus community at a variety of different levels. Hallie Fields is heading up, one of the people heading up Duck the Stigma. Mm-hmm. So she has an event coming up here, I think a SAC takeover in April. Great. But our athletes, they like to be involved. And it's what we ask them to do. And it's just better. You say yes to a bunch of things. There's so many inputs that come at these athletes from, like you mentioned, internships. And just being involved, right? We got the O Show coming up, and I know they'll be excited about that. And
the O Show, if you're not familiar, basically student athlete prom.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it's a great event. But I just encourage them as much as possible that you got your athletics, you got your class schedule, you got tutoring, you have all these things, but then you got to add something to be a little more balanced, and also have time for yourself socially and things like that.
Yeah. So back, I guess on a similar front, you went to New Orleans, and if I understand it, the New Orleans trip, it kind of was a late addition to the schedule.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
It was. So originally, we typically go to Arizona that opening weekend.
Yeah.
A good buddy of mine that I've known for a long time coaches at Tulane, and he had a pretty good event. And I asked to jump in on that kind of a little bit last minute. It was a good opportunity. The sport itself is really kind of exploding in the South right now, kind of in that Florida Panhandle, Alabama.
They have beaches.
And they have beaches. Right. Yes, it's extraordinarily helpful.
Yeah.
But no, he put together a great field. They held it at a large complex that had 6 courts, so you had volleyball going just all day.
Cool.
And surprisingly, our travel was pretty easy, just getting no delays, obviously. And so we got there, when we were supposed to get there. And
hey, that's half the battle.
Well, and it was also a week after Mardi Gras. So I swear to you, like we went on a walk just to kind of stretch our legs, and I mean there's just beads into trees, beads on the fences, but the ground, I swear they pressure washed the whole city. Like there was just, it was pristine. The neighborhood that we were in was great.
Wow.
It was very fun. 15, 20 minutes to the courts, and it was a great trip. From a experience standpoint, we struggled a little bit on the court. We had a last minute concussion that kind of threw our lineup into a little bit of chaos for us opening weekend. But overall experience was fantastic, and we had a really great time.
So tell us a little bit about that. So I talked about this on the show, if those of you who missed it, like just a tremendous experience and some Eugene connections.
Little Eugene connection that we didn't know about. Obviously, Mickey Loomis, who is one of the higher ups with the Pelicans and the Saints, set up a tour of the Superdome for us. So we got to see what goes on in the off season, and they're prepping for a bunch of concerts. They're having, I believe, Beyonce. I think Taylor Swift obviously has to be part of it, right?
Yeah.
And they're just, they're nonstop expanding, the box seats, and they're doing all this stuff, and just to get to see kind of the backstage experience at the Superdome was really cool. The people were great. Everyone was very friendly.
Cool.
And so it was a really good time, and then we got to go sit in a box and watch the Pelicans basketball game, which was great for everyone. It was a great experience. The Pelicans are really good, and it was a good match, a good game against Houston that night.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. I mean, so for those of you that missed it, like the Eugene connection, I didn't know that. I really didn't. I didn't know that there was the Loomis-Eugene connection.
We're there.
Yeah.
And he's got a daughter that's into beach volleyball and indoor volleyball. So she's 13, and she's playing her indoor schedule, but she came out and was, taking it all in. And, I kept needling her like, beach, indoor? She's like, I don't know. And she's a setter. So she's young, and she's a setter. So we'll see. We'll see how tall she gets. And, we'll be back to New Orleans at some point. That's a good relationship, obviously, between myself and the coach. And Mickey was amazing and came out and supported us for like 2 or 3 hours.
That's awesome.
And it was great to have him there. And it was just a great experience. The players were very appreciative of everything.
So on that front, like you touched on, needling between like beach, indoor. You have 3 athletes on the roster this time around this season that are playing indoor and beach. Give us the update. Like where is the sport at? Is it still a little bit? Is it still a lot of overlap? Is it starting to separate more? Is it? I don't know. Like what's the state of the sport in that way?
Yeah. So in general, I think a lot of programs have gravitated to just beach only athletes for us, and we're moving in that direction as well. But for us, we're very thankful to have Isabel Patterson, who's a freshman, Sophia Gregoire, who's a freshman as well, coming out. And they've done a great job of acclimating. I mean, it's the same sport, but it's a difficult transition, right? It's a different surface. All the play sets are different. You touch the ball on every play, right? It's definitely different. And then Daly McClellan, who's back, who had missed last season. She was an indoor player, played as a freshman, played in our twos with Mad Mads, and had a great year. And then had to miss for having back surgery last year. And so she's back out there. In the last 3 weeks, she's really kind of found her groove, and excited about watching her compete this weekend.
And has been in the number 1 spot.
Yeah, stepping up. And I was joking with her I think like maybe a week ago, like how different is it, from 2 years ago when you played in the twos. It's not a big stretch from twos to ones, 2 years ago, and the game's completely changed. Like the physicality, the skill level, just across the board, playing even, some of the same teams. It's just definitely beach volleyball has grown a lot. The athletes are more skilled coming into college, so that levels up the level of play, when we get in competition.
Beach volleyball head coach Jason Dillard joining us. So we talked with him a little bit earlier today. They're actually practicing, and we continued our conversation with Coach Dillard for about another 10 minutes. Part 2 of our conversation for you tomorrow here on Duck Insider, because we've got some women's basketball breaking news here during the show. We talked a little bit about how the men's basketball roster, things move around. You've got a lot going on, things that are always going to be in flux. Well, women's basketball is in the middle of that too. We're going to talk about a new addition and also dive into Oregon softball from last night. Stick with us. More Duck Insider after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Imagine all the fun you can have this spring break in a new Toyota. I'm having fun and I'm not even there.
Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends April 1st.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Imagine all the fun you can have this spring break in a new Toyota. I'm having fun and I'm not even there.
Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends April 1st.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
A heads up before something bad happens.
You should not send that text.
Uh-oh. Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can reverse prediabetes and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
It's the offseason for basketball, which means player movement already as March Madness continues for the Sweet 16 coming up in both the men's and the women's tournament. Well, it's a lot of movement around college basketball. The portal, I have a thought on this first. The portal opening during the tournament, that's tough, man. I feel like I understand it from an academic perspective, but I don't know, like as a fan, I'm almost like, I wish the portal wouldn't open so early in the offseason. As some teams are in the offseason, some aren't. I don't know, it seems odd. But that's not for me to decide as we welcome you back to Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Oregon baseball in action tonight. And then women's basketball has made an addition to the roster. Aliza Mevius joining the Ducks. Added the 23-24 Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year, a Siena transfer. Aliza Mevius. 24-25 roster next year. She's ready to go for Kelly Graves. She's a 5'10" rising junior, which means she's going to be a junior next season for the Ducks. Originally from Germany, a 2-time All-MAC selection, while also being named the 22-23 MAC Rookie of the Year as a freshman. This season, Mevius set the Siena and MAC single-season steals record with 135. That translates to 4.5 steals per game. That was second in all of Division I women's basketball. In addition to her Defensive Player of the Year award, she took home the first-team All-MAC honors this year, was a third-team and All-Rookie team selection following the 22-23 campaign. In her sophomore season, Mevius averaged 12 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 5.1 assists, along with those 4.5 steals per game. Shot 45.5% from the field. Those were all career highs. She led the MAC in both assists and steals. That's tough to do. led the MAC in both assists and steals. Produced Sienna's first ever triple-double on March 7th at Ryder, had 16 points, had 16 rebounds, and had 10 assists in that contest. She scored in double figures 22 times this past season, including a pair of 20-point efforts while tallying 8 double-doubles, including 2-point assists, double-doubles. You know, when you think about a player that moves up from that level to the Pac-12, Big Ten, whatever it might be, there's certainly a jump in competition level. But those numbers translate. Someone who gets after it defensively, you know Kelly Graves is going to be stoked about that. Now, as a freshman, that tremendous contribution that she gave Sienna immediately, Ducks are hoping that translates as well. She scored a career-high 26 points during her collegiate season, during her initial collegiate season against Niagara back in 2023. 2 seasons with the Saints, Mevius averaged 11 points, just over 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 3.3 steals per game. Shot 42% from the floor across her 2 years at that level. Mevius has shined in the international game as well. Spent last summer leading her native Germany to the finals of the 23 FIBA 3x3 U21 Nations League in Mongolia. She also helped Germany to a second-place finish at the U17 Euro Cup, a fourth-place showing at the U18 FIBA World Cup, and a fourth-place finish at the U21 Nations League. Personally, I love the international experience because, yeah, it's a different game. 3-on-3 is different than what you're going to – I understand that, but I don't know. Just to me, having that international experience is so valuable both on the court and off the court. That's awesome. So she'll be a junior for the 24-25 season, has 2 years of eligibility remaining. New addition to the Oregon roster, Aliza Mevius, joining Kelly Graves' squad for next season. Ducks softball last night. We're going to get a timeout, come back, review what happened in a very wild back-and-forth game. Cal State Fullerton, Ducks got the win. Now heading into a critical series against UCLA that starts tomorrow. Talking softball next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too. Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. The Ducks coming off a big win over Cal State Fullerton, a 12-4 victory. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't that close until, or it was much closer than that, I should say, until the late innings. The Ducks had a roller coaster of a ride, and I'll tell you, the fact that Oregon is coming away with the victory after a very back-and-forth contest, you have to like what you saw last night from the Ducks. And look, Emma Kauf has been excellent in her career, a transfer for Oregon, played in 204 games during her college career, none quite like this one. She talked a bit about it after the game. Ducks ended up winning number 21 Oregon over Cal State Fullerton, but it took 8 runs in the top of the 7th to pull away. The Duck catcher, who went 2 for 5 in the contest with a home run and 3 runs batted in, talked with our Greg Walker postgame.
We're here with Emma Kauf after a wild game here at Fullerton. A lot of crazy things happened in this game, but it kind of feels good at least to come out on the winning side of one of those games, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think we did a really good job of staying together as a team throughout the whole game, going down the first inning and then punching right back the next few innings. I think we did a really good job of sticking together and just keeping through the fight the whole game.
This is your 204th career game, Emma. Have you had any games like this before?
Probably 204. No, I haven't played that many games, so probably looking back, yes, but most recently, not really.
What can softball is one of those games where you can have a rough inning and then it's your time to shine. And a rough inning, I mean, it had to be the kind of the run of the emotions out there for you today. How'd you handle that? And how did it feel to kind of come out and deliver with that RBI in the 7th inning?
Yeah, definitely. We were talking about as a team to continue to reset throughout the whole game. So whenever something wasn't going our way or we were making errors on defense, we just had to tell ourselves that we need to reset, get back to neutral, and then go back on offense and execute there. So I think the whole team did a really good job of that, of resetting every inning and not carrying one thing over into the next. So.
Are those kind of things you can take over to UCLA? Because it's a road game. Going on the road doesn't matter who you're playing. It's tough.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can take a lot of stuff from today and learn from it, and then use that and take this momentum going into UCLA for 3 games this week.
Oregon catcher Emma Kauf, that big RBI kind of got it going, that 8-run 7th, but it was very back and forth throughout the entire game. Titans took advantage of a couple uncharacteristic errors for Oregon softball early. They really pride themselves, the Ducks do, defensively. Ducks, though, then had to respond. Oregon did with a long ball, got a 3-2 lead, and following along was stressful, the back and forth for Oregon softball last night. But now Oregon does move to Westwood in Southern California for a 3-game series at UCLA. Begins Thursday. All 3 games will be on the Pac-12 network. Knight Ureski's down there. He's got the hometown call for you on KWVA. The Ducks, let's just put it this way. Critical series against UCLA. Oregon is in sole possession of second place in the Pac-12. UCLA, I think, has been a little down this year, at least by their standards, but have started to win some games lately. If Oregon wins that series, means an awful lot in the overall context of the season. We'll talk more softball coming up tomorrow. We've got baseball tonight, 4:45, the pregame show across the Oregon Sports Network. Myself and Ryan Milano on the call. Ducks and Seattle here in action this evening. Some other news and notes on Duck Insider tomorrow. Whole lot to cover, including a conversation with lacrosse head coach Jess Drummond. See you then.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from